Call the June 13th, 2024 Young Community School Board meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, audience, Superintendent Woods, are there any community comments?
All right, yes, we have two signed up to speak, one on an agenda item and one on a non-agenda item.
Okay, so I have to read both of them, right?
Yes,
So there's one and one. For community comments that are separate from items on the posted agenda, please understand that the board will not engage in discussion per policy 1400. The board values and supports the opportunity for community members to share ideas. However, for non-agenda items, the board will not take action, but may refer the issue to the administration for further investigation or research. Comments on the non-agenda items will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, 15 minutes per topic. Any comments directed at performance of school personnel will not be allowed. Comments that are inappropriate to an open public meeting will be immediately stopped by the board president. Community comments need to be presented in a respectful manner following proper. Disruption of the meeting beyond the open comment period can result in the meeting being recessed. So we'll take that one first. Is that okay?
which one, the agenda? Or
Non-agenda.
non-agenda, yes. Gabriel Iverson.
Good evening, board members. My name is Gabriel Iverson, food service employee here at Young Community Schools. I work in the food service warehouse here at Richland Middle School. The warehouse is located behind these walls, behind the cafeteria. Over the past few months, the warehouse has steadily grown in the accumulation of bird feces. And through my efforts working in the warehouse, I have brought my own tools and used my own resources to try and clean the area, but the area itself has not been properly managed. At the beginning of the school year, I reached out to our HR director and said that I believe that there are some workplace environment situations that need to be addressed in food service. On February 14th, the director came down to the warehouse area and saw for themselves some of what was the beginning of what was there this morning. My food service director and the director of facilities have also been in the area multiple times throughout the year, investigating for their own purposes or checking up on me and the management of the warehouse pretty consistently, but have not taken steps to address the growing concern of that type of environment around and near the food that's going to our kids. Today, we're witnessing end of year celebrations and then having to come back to the work environment that was covered. I contacted HR, I contacted my supervisor and had to take a leave for the rest of the day because I am frustrated with working in an environment that I don't believe is suitable for any young community school member to be working. I don't believe that it is I just don't believe that we're doing the best that we can in all areas, in all aspects of this institution. And when workers bring those things forward, they hope for action. They don't hope for the status quo to stay the same or to get worse. So this afternoon, my director recently, within 20 minutes ago, maybe half an hour, texted me and informed me with some pictures that the area had been pressure washed. I will be here tomorrow to continue my duties. But we should never have gotten to this point where we allow this to happen in any area of our district. And I, after reaching out and expressing my concern over this for such a long period of time, I'm very disappointed that we couldn't do anything at any level until I had to walk away from the job. Thank you for your time.
So next we have a comment for the agenda.
Yes, and I would also like to, just real quick, recommend that we add one more. We have a student, that got here a couple minutes late, and I'd like to allow her to sign up for public comment as well. She's been communicating with me for a couple of weeks on the process, and so I'd love to give her an opportunity because she has comments on an agenda item.
So I'll be connected to the agenda item. Community comments that are related to an item on the posted agenda will be given at the time that the agenda item is to be discussed. Please understand that the board will not engage discussion per policy 1400. The board values and supports the opportunity for community members to share ideas. Comments on agenda items will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker and 20 minutes per topic. Any comments directed at performance or school personnel will not be allowed. Comments that are inappropriate to an open public meeting will be immediately stopped by the board president. Community comments need to be presented in a respectful manner following proper decorum. Disruption of the meeting can result in the meeting being recessed. We have our first one.
Yes, Donna Hampton Murray.
Feel short. Good evening, board of directors and Superintendent Woods. I'm Donna Hanson Murray, a community member, a grandparent of students in our district, and a current employee of Yelm Community Schools. I'm here to talk about the cuts that have been made to our classified staff, specifically those in support positions in our buildings. The half-hour-a-day cut from our paras schedules equates to approximately a 14-day furlough. For a para with 10 years of experience, that's approximately a 7.7% cut in pay. Some of the office professionals have been cut by half. 50% of their income is gone. Many of these individuals live, spend their money in our community, vote in this community. The stiffest cuts are being made to our lowest paid employees. These are also the employees who work directly with our students in the trenches, so to speak. These cuts are very impactful to the families of those employees, many of whom are children attending our schools. $207 may not sound like a lot, but off a $2,700 paycheck, that hurts. Our superintendent and assistant superintendent graciously taking a 10-day furlough, roughly a 3.9% pay cut. For a superintendent, that's about $684 a month from a paycheck that grosses over $17,000. I'm here tonight asking you to please look at cutting more from the top so that our classified employees and their families are the least impacted instead of being the most impacted. I'm also here as a person who attended school in the district that had multiple levy failures. In Federal Way School District, we had 22 failed levies in a row. They did not start passing levies until the admin made tough choices to eliminate excessive administrative jobs. Please take this into consideration as you continue to make cuts. Hard decisions, I know. Please avoid the classrooms and those staff that serve our students directly. The choices you are making not only impact the employees, but it also impacts our local communities, economy, and many of the students in our building. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last one, we have Evelyn.
Thank you, staff and community members, for coming to show your support for student education. It means a lot. My name is Evelyn Forte, and I'm a freshman at Young High School. I have a 4.0 GPA, and I'm an AHTA student, also FFA reporter. I am here to represent the young student voices and also young staff. School is a place where we discover and develop our identities. As we mature, we begin to envision our future paths and strive for success in what we find meaningful to us. However, with the current situation involving the failed levy and the reduced education plan, many student opportunities are being cut off. I dedicated my time during the last week to question students about the meaning of school. The meaning of school is more than just a place to earn a diploma. School. Not only have we built a system of support that channels into discovery of who we are and what we can be, but also has been a place for us to collaborate with others and involve our critical thinking skills through education and extracurricular activities. A senior, Kevin Lopez, stated, "Schooling is a form of life experience and to help people understand how to navigate life." A sophomore said, "School develops habits that are useful to proper development and success in life. School has helped me find out what I like to do and what I would want to do later in life. It acts as a catalyst and driving force for me to want to be good at things I do." A freshman, Natalie Erklin, shared, "School represents a space for kids to learn how to interact and connect with others before working with them. It forces people to develop a new perspective and ideas, as well as learn alongside people that operate differently than them. It also teaches critical thinking skills. Chances are we won't use most of the things we learn. We're training your brain to struggle and work, memorize and challenge itself helps people develop thought patterns that know how to learn and grow efficiently and effectively." I bring forth these statements because it's important to hear all differing opinions. We must support future generations to come, students who can't speak as loud as I am right now. Our education is not an expense, it's an investment. It's essential to recognize that students will be affected by this situation and possible successes in their educational career. These curriculars, our clubs mean so much to us. Students, I believe that if we don't support students' education, statistics of graduation rates, participation, and overall student health, I fear will decrease. We started the discovery path around 13. We're curious about the big world that we've only seen so little of. We only want to know not even 1% of the population on Earth. High school has opportunities available to the student body that can lead them down several different pathways. FFA, FBLA, theater, med careers, sports as a whole, ESP, classes, etc. Not only do these programs build us, but staff. They create several meaningful conversations and they share the world that we may not be involved in. Not only are they more mature people, they're able to share the gift of maturity to us and we'll be able to grow from the perspectives. We need those perspectives. Having access to the experiences builds the foundations for a possible successful career. As an FFA reporter, I am involved in FFA. And not only has it benefited me in a way, but it's also gave me a home. And it's important that other people have that place too. It's important that people have a home because sometimes our home lives are great. We have people there for us, people to listen, people to care, and school is one of those places that can give it to us. It's seeing that some of our activities are on the line, our staff are on the line. It's unfortunate, but hopefully as a community, I hope we are able to collaborate together and build solutions to figure out what to do during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 3, reduce education information.
All right, first of all, I want to say thank you for accepting a lot of information. We've been sending your way, the last several weeks. We scheduled, this special board meeting tonight, to have some conversation, to kind of dig deeper into, some of the data that we have shared with you, to talk through some of the questions you have and really look for some additional guidance from you as we continue to look for ways to bridge the gap between where we are funded and the loss of the levy dollars and where we need to be. And so tonight is really a conversation for all of us. And I've asked Jennifer Carroll, our Director of Finance, and Dee Dee Buckingham, also from HR, to be here for questions and conversation as we go through some of the areas that we have shared some data and information with you. We're going to start with athletics, and what you have in your binder is you've got a document that breaks down the cost of athletics at Yale Middle School, Ridgeline Middle School, and Yale High School. And you've got every sport there, plus you have 2 categories. One is payroll, so that would be any of our stipends for coaches. And then you've got another category, which would be costs associated mainly with transportation and officials, things like that. Those are 2 of our largest expenses as it relates to athletics. You've got it broken down also by varsity, JV, C team, at all levels. And so you can see that at Yale Middle School, we're spending approximately $175,000 on athletics, Ridgeline $165,000, and at high school nearly $700,000 on athletics. And so that is what we have on the first page. So we'll have some conversation around that. Page 2, you see, is our pay-to-play fee structure. On the top is our current fee structure, where high school students pay $50 for their ASB card. They pay $50 to participate in each sport that they participate in. And then middle school, it's $25 for their ASB card and $30 for participation in each sport. Next to that, you've got what is being charged in Tumwater, Olympia, North Thurston, Bethel, and Tenino school districts. And then down below, we've created some scenarios for increased fees. We know that we are going to have to increase. We're pretty low, especially as you look across the board with all the other districts. We've been pretty low for quite some time. So one way to increase revenue is to increase fees there. Obviously not something we want to do, but that's what this page explains. And so those are 2 main areas with athletics that we want to kind of have some conversation, see what questions you have, see if you have some guidance or things you want us to look into further to provide additional data, with the goal of really trying to dial into what those cuts are going to be as we get to the June 27th board meeting. Really wanting to have some direct guidance by then at that board meeting so that we can continue to move forward with some adjustments. So I'm going to stop right there and see what questions, thoughts, what comments you might have.
There's a new league that,
Should be on.
It's on.
it's on.
Well, you can just, turn it off. You can grab the one next to you. There you go.
There's a new league that we're going to, does it have, middle school sports?
Yes, we do have middle school sport. We have a middle school sports league that does not have to change with the high school league. And that's my understanding, is that the middle school league would stay the same as it currently stands. Actually, the schools are listed, I think, back on the wall. It would just be the high school changing to the SPSL 4A.
Okay, thank you.
Along that same line, so how many, different teams do the middle school, both middle school and Ridgeline approximately?
I think including our two schools, is it 8?
There's Clover Park, which has 3 middle schools, Silcom, which has 1, and then R2. In the last year, there's been 3 schools that left to go to other leagues.
So we're currently at 6.
Currently at 6.
That includes us.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of things, Chris. So one, I'm gonna request a little more detailed breakdown on the MSOCs. So for those listening, MSOCs is transportation, sports officials, social developments. It's everything other than payroll. We kind of got it in one lump sum. So if I get a further breakdown on that, I'd appreciate it. I don't need it like this minute for January to December. And then question on quantity of coaches per sport, is there something that dictates how many coaches per sport we need payroll wise?
Typically, yes, and Dee, you want to take that one?
And then are we looking or have we looked at fundraising opportunities, sponsorships, I mean, other ways to maybe pitch in to help offset some of these costs rather than just cutting them completely?
Yeah, one of the things that our district has not necessarily done in the past is advertisements, sponsorships. That is done in some districts to bring in additional revenue where you might, for example, sell signboards or vinyl signs to hang up, and businesses would pay to hang those up for the school year or the season. Sometimes you can do larger sponsors for a gymnasium or for a field. So that is certainly something that we could look into. If you wanted to direct us that way, we would start gathering information from any local districts that are currently doing that to give you an idea of what that might generate. But that also could take some more action as far as policy and procedures. Typically, we would ask you to help us create those policies and procedures as we go out to solicit advertisements and sponsors.
Rob's not here. When we built the, at the stadium, Curtis, do you remember this? There was some talk about different entities wanting to, and I don't know if it was Microsoft or whomever, and they wanted to change the name, correct? Mike?
I've heard about that. That was before my time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, we said, no, we wanted it to be the Young High School stadium. So maybe that is something that we can look into, because it was talked about.
Yeah, we'd be happy to gather information on that and provide to you. We could send that as we get it. Like we've been doing with the information you have now, sending it and not waiting until we get to a board meeting. So we'll gather some information and send it your way on what that could potentially look like.
I think we already have some banners hanging, a lot of things down there at high school. I don't know if we're gonna name another one.
We do have a contract with Adidas, for uniforms and things like that, and so, as part of that, oftentimes you'll see those banners up. But as far as, payment for advertisement, I don't, know about others.
We have two sponsors, two athletic sponsors, local companies. Minimum, just a couple $100, I think is what they're paying for athletic departments.
Is the sign, the scoreboard, that has no, and I think that was discussed too, that some entity bought and paid for it, like they do, I don't know, the Mariners or the Seahawks sign. Right?
Yes, that's fairly common. Ingersoll Stadium for a lot of years was, had LME bottling, at the bottom of their sign, and they paid, a yearly, fee to do that. It didn't change the name of the field or anything like that, but it was simply a sponsorship and advertising.
Have you had anybody approach you since you've been here, Curtis?
For naming rights, just a few companies want to do banners.
Okay.
Yeah, I really hate to change the name of the stadium. So I'd rather it be Tornado, known as our Tornado Valley Stadium.
Yeah, I'm not advocating any one specific thing. I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people and businesses in this community that be willing to volunteer, be willing to offer sponsorship. I mean, there's some unique ways to bring some revenue in here. So rather than agree to make any cuts here, I think we should be looking at some alternative funding mechanisms first. And if we've exhausted those elements, maybe we look at adding additional cuts.
I have a question. Okay. So on the, transportation, is that, number our bus drivers for a way, or is that having to, is that first student or whatever it's named?
Recently, it's been largely dependent on charters because we were short bus drivers for quite a while this year. However, we are fully staffed, and so next year, if we were to continue transportation, it would be our transportation department. But it's still a pretty significant cost. When you talk about all the games and all the traveling to all the schools. But plan would be that would be our transportation. Now, that can change if you've got a team. Typically, it's at the high school varsity level where they might go to the other side of the mountains. Then there is a conversation often about using a charter that's much more comfortable than a school bus going, 3 and 4 hours and farther.
Yeah, when we had the playoffs, the championship there this year at Husky Stadium, the wife and I rented a bus. And we paid the same price we paid for at high school, it was $1,400. Trip.
Just in the high school, the charters, not our buses, for the $156. Well, I have to be, okay.
Okay, so, my question is, about the day income at the football games. So, where does that go? The ticket prices. Who gets the money for that?
Go ahead.
It goes into the general athletics, like in the high school that they have. Policy that they have.
So that would also be like, the basketball games also generate for the, so does that offset, the cost for ASB funds? Is that where it goes?
Yes, any of those dollars also help, and you see on the first page, I believe in there, it talks about ASB funds, actually page 2 in the athletic section talks about ASB, fees for equipment, uniforms, football helmets, general supplies, sideline gear, tournament fees, things like that, and so any revenue generated in the ASB side of things also helps. because it can cover any of those athletic costs, not stipends and, those things, but it can help offset. We do have different rules around ASB dollars where the students are involved in the spending of those dollars and help determine how they're spent. But it definitely can help, as you're talking about that. And then the other thing that's been brought up, along those lines is charging for things like soccer games, which we typically haven't done in other sports. Each league kind of does things a little bit different. And as we go into the SPSL, there are some things there that will be done different than we would have done in our current league. And so there's some opportunities, not that we want to continue to charge our families, but it is a way to increase revenue, charging at fees.
We have to follow the league as to what they suggest.
Any league guidelines we would have to follow. And I don't know all of those, but any SPSL league guidelines we would have to follow. And then also the playoffs and, you know.
Or maybe we could look at that.
Yep. Any other questions or requests as far as information?
Yeah, just verify how much cuts have we made to date and what are we still looking at adjusting? So about 7.5 million we still have to cut.
Yeah, we're gonna know for sure. Again, as I said before, the 27th is when we're gonna be bringing hard figures to you, but yes, we are still probably halfway there. We'll move on to the next category. This one is something we do every year, and we'll bring this on the 27th with other fees and fines for you to approve them all together. For example, if we increase pay-to-play fees, we'll bring that along with this one, which is meal prices. Every year we bring this to you to look at and adjust. You'll see on the page there that you've got our current prices, and then we've given you 3 options. All 3 of these options, they are compliant with requirements for meal prices, and Sandy has calculated those for us. And then on the right-hand side, you have what North Thurston, Tumwater, and Olympia school districts are charging. And then you see the savings or increased revenues, I guess I should put it that way. If we go with option 1, option 2, or option 3, next year, all elementaries are free for our students. So there is no cost for our elementary students for lunches, even though we still have to publish those prices. So this would be simply secondary, middle school and high school, and adult lunches and breakfast.
And every year I say this, do they think that our middle school and high school kids are not hungry?
Yes, we are hopeful that, we are hopeful at some point down the road that breakfast and lunch will be free for all students.
Yes.
And I think there is movement that direction, but for next year, we're thankful that, I think it was our last elementary, or was it 2 elementaries added? 2 elementaries added and are now free, so all of our elementaries are free next year. So we're very appreciative of that, and that's great for our families. But yes, we hope that our secondary students, schools, as decisions are made, that will come on board. So we're recommending option 2, not asking you to take any action tonight. Option 2 still keeps us in the same area as our neighbors. And I think it's still in line with what we would ask for under normal circumstances.
But it looks to me like it's only an addition of 15 cents.
If you go with option 2, from $2 to $2.25,
$2.25.
That's for breakfast, and then it's 30 cents 365 and 390. At the 612 levels, elementary will not. be
Oh,
paid.
right, okay, got it, thank you.
Now, if I remember correctly, we cannot make any money but lose money. Correct?
The cost of food escalating.
Yes, in addition to this, Sandy would also be looking at ways to cut costs with food. As we all know, prices have increased tremendously, so that would be happening normally anyways, to make sure that we are staying balanced here. So, any questions or comments here? We're gonna be asking, for you to take action at the June 27th meeting on, meal prices. Next one is assurance, program. This is where we can also talk a little more in depth about, technology. And, but the first part is an annual cost, for accidental damage. We're proposing that for all, students who are checked out with Chromebook, which is currently, majority of our students in the district are at the primary grades. Typically, a teacher will have a cart, with Chromebooks on them, and we don't necessarily check them out. There are some challenges with that when they get broken because it's not assigned to somebody in particular. But what we're looking at is an annual cost, and basically what that does is $10 annual cost. It would then help us, with any accidental damage, anything dropping a device, water damage, anything like that. And then, you can see a fee structure for, first incident, if it's lost or stolen, second incident, third incident. And then you can see hardware repair costs down below. Jennifer, anything you want to add to that document?
Yeah, this pretty much mirrors North Thurston's policy. What I wanted to mention is if you recall, this was the first year we've ever had charges for things. We were getting really behind and we were spending a lot of money on replacements and fixing that we weren't collecting the revenue for. So, so having a $10 assurance fee is pretty common for districts to do. So it reduces the liability for the families. It's like an insurance policy to them. And then it helps us cover the cost for things do happen.
I noticed it says, accidental damage. What about if you lose it in our bed?
Well, if you lose it, that's included. If you lose it, then if the first incident, it's 25%, $25 to replace it. If it's lost or stolen, if it's stolen, you need to report it to the police now. If it's stolen, but, and then if you lose it a second time, it's $100. And then if you lose it a third time, it's full cost. Now, full cost, the underneath there, we see the $200 for a new Chromebook. That will go up for next year. That's this year's fees.
Well, we had talked about this, after COVID, we just never did anything with insurance, and then we got hit with that big amount that we lost.
It's about close to $2 million for us to get one-on-ones to all of our students. Every year we do a refresh of a certain number of buildings, and that is our rate, and that is about $350,000.
So if you say it was 2 million, so if we cut all Chromebooks, we save 2 million?
No, over years, we do a refresh. We already have them, right? And so they cycle, so they do a refresh and cycle them, fifth, sixth, and ninth, so they cycle.
Okay, I guess I'll go one step further. If we don't issue a Chromebook, what is the savings?
There wouldn't be any savings right now. The savings would be when we refresh, and we are already going to next year suspend, the refresh that we would do next spring. And so that's $350,000 that we'll be saving. Now for this, going into next year, that was already done. That was already in this year's budget. That was done with the levy and all of that. But next year's budget would be the refresh for the following year. We've already chosen to suspend that, so we will not be doing that student refresh for 5th going to 6th grade and 8th going to 9th grade. So that's a savings of $350,000. So to get this full savings of 2 million, that would have to happen over time as you do this refresh. That 350,000 is every year. So every year we spend that to refresh from 5th to 6th and 8th to 9th. Couple other things I want to share on technology that we are already planning to do. We do a teacher refresh. So for next year would be $80,000 and the following year 80,000. So we've already chosen to suspend that. So that's 160,000 that we would save on the teacher refresh of devices. Another 46,000 on renewals and negotiations through technology. And then 20,000 for some other removal. We're still looking at all the possible additional cuts in the area of technology. But, yeah, if the board and the district decided to cut back Chromebooks, those savings will be realized over years to come. But the immediate things we can do are suspend the refresh, suspend some of the software licenses. Our tech folks can do as much of the repair as possible in-house, which they already do. And then they're continuing, Jonathan, our Director of Technology, is continuing to find additional savings within that department.
These surplus Chromebooks that are working, they take everything they can off, they salvage them. They take the screen, they tap 80 screens off of broken Chromebooks that they put on other Chromebooks.
Jonathan and his crew.
Yeah, so they save a lot of money doing that too.
Is there any school district in the state of Washington that do not issue Chromebooks that you know of?
I don't know off the top of my head, but there are some that don't issue them maybe to individuals, but they have them available. Like I was telling you at the elementary level, they have them in carts in the classroom. So there are some districts that do it that way, or they stay there. But most districts have gone to a place where kids are taking them home. Because there's an equity issue as it relates to access to technology. And so that has really changed the landscape with technology and making sure that all students have access to it. And so some districts have done some things at different levels, like maybe at the elementary level, maybe they stay in the building and don't go home, but they do at the secondary level. It also changes the way you do instruction. If you cannot depend on students have access to Chromebooks. We did it before Chromebooks, but it just is a change of the way you do instruction and what you're expecting from your students when they leave at the end of the day.
Now, are some of the state tests still required?
Yeah.
We started out with just Chromebooks on a cart, right?
All right. Anything else on technology? Your last staff facility use, this is an area that this is challenging because, 4 years ago, we had the bond and did a lot of upgrades and additions of fields and facilities for athletics and activities. And at the same time, our district has been very conservative as it relates to charging users for use of those fields. So what we've brought to you is our fee structure for facility use. And there's 4 categories for use, everything from our school groups and organizations to PTAs, PTOs. When it's being used by our students, our programs, is category 1. Typically, there's no charge there. But then you get into category 2, 3, and 4, where it goes from nonprofit organizations that maybe mostly are our students to nonprofit organizations and other organizations wanting to use it to then for-profit organizations. And you can see the progression there. So what we've provided for you is our current fee structure. We've provided what our proposal is as a starting place for conversation. We've provided what the current revenue is and usage. Now, this usage and revenue does not include where we have had agreements with 3 different groups that have used these facilities. Brian Morton worked with them as I was coming in as superintendent. That's Prairie Soccer and Nisqually Baseball and Bristol County Youth Football. And was allowing them to use the fields, and really they had to cover bathroom costs for portable restrooms. They had to cover any custodial costs. But aside from that, their costs were minimal. And they were not subject to the fee structure. And obviously now we're in a very different situation. So you can see what the current usage was in revenue. Then you can also see what Bethel, Tumwater, Olympia, North Thurston, and the RAC are charging. To give you a reference point, as we're talking about increasing our fees for facility use. Jennifer, anything that I missed on that?
Just the yellow, the yellow are where we proposed new rates just to kind of stay in line with the other surrounding areas and schools, but Chris did ask, I talked to him earlier today, because we didn't have a lot of time to go over this before the meeting, and he thought that the disinfect and replenish fee, it was 25, and I put it to 0. He would like that to go back to 25, because what happens, even if it's during custodial hours, we're still using our restrooms and things, and we have to replace toilet paper and all of it. So, disinfect.
What one's that at?
That is, it's about all the categories. It's about, the middle of the first section up there, the inside usage.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, he told me that we could make a section. And then all the other ones, I just went through and looked at and he agreed with, the amounts, but that's just a proposal.
Just for reference for those who are listening, so category 2 would be nonprofit, mostly young community school students, like the main gym. Currently, they don't get charged for main gym in that category. We are proposing that it would be $55 an hour for that group, so that gives you an idea of the difference. Some of our neighboring districts, Bethel would charge 25 an hour for the same thing, Tumwater 50, Olympia 55, North Thurston $58.40. So you can see how we were at a place where even in category 2 here, we weren't charging anything in a number of these areas, and that was the design though. When the bond came, and the idea was that we wanted our families, our students to be using our fields. And so we were doing that at no or very low charge. And so now we're proposing that we fall in line with what neighboring districts are doing.
Casey, you had a question about a lot of blanks in there. We don't have any information. So I talked to Chris on the category 4. It's been a while since we had any local. And so, on the other ones, it's just because we haven't rented those fees.
And this is years in the past. I mean, like I say, we haven't rented that last year or this year. A little of the history is when we went out for the bond, we did have a committee that was made up of community members, and they listed their priorities. And because we've always been, since before my time, young community schools, and the board and superintendent, that was our wish to continue, that they could use it. Well, times have changed. Now you don't have volunteers cleaning up the fields and different things. But the committee that was made up of a lot of citizens in Yelm, they wanted the fields and the gymnasium used. And so when we have to make an adjustment, which we've known the last couple of years, that we should with the surroundings, but you can't make it too high where they can't use it either.
And I just want to clarify, some of these were zeros initially and rate increase in the rate. We didn't charge before, we didn't require anybody to reserve that at all, right, our class case. We just used it when we were available. So there's no data to estimate what that would be.
Well, there was I can say a little bit of history because I remember working with Cecilia, that the groups would work amongst themselves and figure out their schedules on how they were gonna use them. So that's kind of why there was no schedule.
They figured.
And there weren't as many groups.
No, there weren't as many,
Right.
but our fields were. And that's the way we.
You know, one of my thoughts is, we've got so many turf fields, we're gonna have to have something in a fund to fix those. Redo it in another 20 years. And then the other part, how much using.
Yeah, and oftentimes districts will use facility use fees over time to replace turf fields. And so that's another reason they charge, is so that when it comes time to have to replace that turf, money generated in facility use fees could go to that, but it doesn't have to be. But also it could be capital projects dollars, it can also be a bond of some kind, or I think even a capital levy. You could use that. So different districts get creative in how they do that, but if you look at the number of turf fields we have now, we're gonna have to think about that starting now for when we get there.
How do you bill the youth sports programs? Is it before they use them? Is it every month? Is it at the end of the season? I mean, because some of these rate increases are gonna be pretty tough for them to take as they use them, because, I mean, there might be some ways to, because they can raise sponsorship money to cover a lot of these, but probably not before they know. So.
Yeah, they get billed monthly. We have an automated contract system where people, once they are cleared, and they've provided the documentation required, they're able to go in and reserve. But we've got a pretty streamlined process. It's just that we've been very lenient, up till now, with that process. But, we would be falling in line again, like I said, with what the majority of our neighboring districts are currently doing.
So when we come to terms as to what we decide, will this immediately take effect?
We would start for next school year.
Leave this the way it is this year. So then, this is what, everybody, so it's fair. Everybody is going to, this document is the document.
Yes, the only difference would be what category you're in. Whether you're in category 1, 2, 3, or 4, that would be the only difference between user groups. But aside from that, they would fall in line with whatever the requirements are, in fees set by you guys.
And right now, with better facilities, we've been undercharging for so long, we're losing money.
So anybody that wants to, they'll know that this is it. Anybody new coming in, everybody.
Yeah, and all this information is on our website. When they go to facility use request form, all the information is there. So any user group that would be using our facility, it's pretty common from district to district for them to have to go through a process in order to use the facility. It would be different for this community because for the most part, our fields are open for use, and we've been very generous with our groups, which is great. And if we were not in this current situation we're in, we would probably continue to do that. But even at that, I would recommend that, once we do get to a place where we have levy dollars, we can talk about whether we lower it or keep it the same, what that might look like, but, we're in a unique situation right now.
Well, and even like the maintenance and the fees and everything, their prices go up. You know, we have to pay them more than we did 10 years ago. or whatever.
I mean, this isn't a cut, this is added, the added revenue. How would you forecast the assumed revenue gain on this? Because I would assume there's gonna be a percentage, they're just gonna take the ball and play elsewhere. Within the fee increase, there's a lower cost alternative, so how are you gonna forecast how much revenue this brings in to fully dictate how much we're gonna have to?
We go based on the existing usage hours, which you have in that middle category. We have usage hours, and then, based on those usage hours, we would, calculate the increased revenue with the new fees. But until we do it for a year, we probably won't have a baseline. And so it would be a very soft number as far as projecting what that increase in revenue would be. We do have a few groups that we would immediately go have a conversation with because they've been groups that have used our facilities. And so we would immediately talk to them and say, you know, is this gonna be doable for you? And so we would know pretty quickly on a few of our groups, but as far as others, we just wouldn't know until we sit down and have that conversation with them.
So I guess my question is, would you take that assumed number and then say, we're gonna cut, you gotta cut this much less now of the 15 million? Are you still gonna try to cut 15 million? This is a key until you know what.
This would have to be a very soft number. We have to be very conservative in our calculations of using this, with the total 15 million.
So I have a question, Casey. Where are these other teams gonna go? Are you saying that this proposal is too high?
Like I said, I just saw this today, right? I
Right,
got to
right.
crunch numbers and figure out, okay, who's using which field for how many hours a day, for how many weeks, how many months, what's that, gonna do? How many kids do they have in ABY? Do they have a very soccer, do they have any twisters? What would that be as an increase for their athletic fee? And now, is that gonna push them away? Because there are places that they can find that might not be as appealing. And what are we actually saving if we do that? Because if we're saying it's a soft number, we're really not gonna change what we're cutting because of this. Is there enough value there? I'm not saying yes or no, now I don't know. I gotta.
No, I was just asking where were they gonna go if they're not, I mean, don't you, have to pay a fee for like Longmire or any place else?
Yes, there are fees
Is
in some
there-
other places for some of the sports,
No.
but I don't have fee schedules for all of them. I don't know, what we're paying for using church fields, which I know are free, what they're paying for some of these other places, so.
Well, I'm kind of to a point where, if they gotta go to Olympia, how much gas money are they gonna spend? Driving all the kids there rather than paying district $25 an hour. Say,
Yeah, I don't know what a free, or, a field, other than like, Yellow Prairie, the church, where they play soccer, I see the kids go by there. Is that a free fee? That's free.
Yeah.
So, but Longmire, you pay for, and what's the other, VFW, that's free?
I don't have the numbers.
Oh.
There's deals set aside for different sponsorship, there's
Well,
not necessarily hard.
when you crunch that, I mean, I'd like to know, did you see what you?
My big thing is just figuring out what, like, the increase per kid, per sport. You're gonna lose some percentage of kids that aren't gonna be able to afford to play, period. Because if the increase changes the fee from 165 to 375 for the year, say you lose 10% of kids, 10% of the league shrinks, they need less fields now, the school's now getting less income revenue because of it. Are you really saving anything? Like I said, I've had this for a couple hours, so I don't have any of these numbers.
That's why we have the big.
And I would recommend as we move forward regardless, I think this needs some attention because again, the idea that our turf fields are gonna have to be replaced, our district needs to think about that now rather than waiting 10 to 15 years to have that conversation, because that is the downside of having turf fields. It is still a net gain when you're not doing all the maintenance on grass fields for all those years. But still, you've got to have that in the bank for when the time comes to replace those. So either way, I would recommend that we take some action on the fee schedule at some point here soon to put in place for next year. Again, the goal being that we can bring all of these fees to you to the June 27th board meeting. And so obviously we'll be having some individual conversations between now and then, and we can have conversations with two of you at a time as we move forward. So make sure you send us any questions or anything that comes up between now and the next few weeks, because we would like to have some direction on how you'd like us to proceed, and maybe it's a couple options, much like we do with the meal prices.
But Casey can share his information with us.
Absolutely, we can share all that with the entire group. You just, as a reminder, cannot have a conversation as a group, but you can share information or send it to me. I can send it out to the group. But
Yeah, I mean, but we're talking June 27th, right? Once again, this is a lot. You're asking for a lot of information, a lot of math, a lot of conversations before then, so I'm not promising that I'm gonna have that and be willing to make a vote at that point. So I guess more to come.
yeah, absolutely. But I would also argue that we have templates existing in neighboring districts that are not new by any means. And so I would encourage us to consider, even if it's a stair step approach where we are taking a small step now moving forward. I think either way, we need to make some movement. And you can see right now from these numbers, we're nowhere near our neighboring districts that are going to our charges. We're essentially giving our field space away and not covering our costs, like Jennifer said. We're actually losing money as a district on this. So let us know what questions you have. If you want us to provide any additional data, we can do that. We're happy to do that.
Well, I believe, if I remember correctly, PCYFL does purchase football equipment that the high school teams use also.
Yes, GCYFL has purchased equipment that they then let the high school program use and have stored it on campus, and then they access it when they're practicing.
Well, that's good. We don't keep water in it, but you want just. That's
Good point. Yep. Because that certainly is a cost savings for us to not water typically. Districts, actually most districts will not water this event, whereas we have. In a lot of places we have.
We shut the water off in the years past. We shut the water.
To save,
In some places, yes, but many of our fields are still been.
we're talking our district.
Our district, yeah. But that will be changing.
Well, and that's part of the reason that we went to the turfs, because of the way the fields, and I think one was Ridgeline here was not good. And the high school had the water pipe sticking up.
All right, anything else on that?
No.
Yes, it is your turn to move on to the next item.
Provisional employees, non-renewed appeal recommendations.
That's actually the other.
I move we approve.
I second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'll give you some additional information. We've talked about this already, but just as for transparency on this. So what this is when we did the reduction in force, our staff have a process that they could follow to appeal the reduction in force. So we had 19 certificated staff who are provisional teachers who appealed the process, appealed them being on the RIF list. Of that, there were 76 total, 19 appealed. Since that appeal, 12 of them have been recalled and placed in positions or accepted other positions. So we now have 7 appeals remaining. My recommendation after meeting with them and hearing their appeal is that we continue moving forward with the reduction in force due to the levy loss and the $15 million that we are going to have to cut. These staff would continue to stay on the recall list, and so they would stay there for 2 years. So if at any point, positions come open and they are endorsed and qualified to teach those positions, they could be recalled. It starts with the continuing staff first and then goes to the provisional. And so we would recall them at any point in time if the position came open. And they were the first, most senior staff member with qualifications and endorsement. Dee Dee, did I miss anything?
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, board comments.
Graduation, the happiest day of the year. For me, that is the best thing we can do. Send our seniors off to their future schooling, whatever it may be. I just love that day. Till I get home, then I gotta go out and pay on it. That kind of thing.
I don't have a lot today, but as everybody can see here, this process sucks. And it's not fun for any of us up here. It's even less fun for a lot of you up there. And I wish there was a golden thread of $15 million and we could just cut and solve this problem and be done with it. We're talking about cutting 20,000 here, 30,000 there, 80,000 there. And it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cuts and each one hurts. We've got 20 different groups. Everybody's mad and upset because their livelihoods are impacted. And we're all upset. I wish I had a good answer. I hope we can be as transparent as possible with what we're doing right now, because it's a lot, and I apologize from the bottom of my heart for what we're doing, but it's the hand that we've been dealt, and we're trying to manage it as best as possible.
Ditto.
Okay, ditto Bill, ditto Casey. And then one other thing is I've been made aware that there is a little bit of comment about the increase in the board budget on social media, and I would like to clarify. We do not have a huge budget. And so I would like, with Jennifer's help, to explain what exactly is in the board budget. Because we haven't been anywhere, we haven't done anything. Jennifer, could you please, and we don't get paid, could you please help explain what is in the board budget?
So OSPI dictates how we account for our expenditures. And they have different activity codes for example, for the board of directors, for the superintendent's office, for HR, for finance. And they dictate exactly what goes into all of those. So we don't have a choice of what we put in there. So the board budget includes a lot of really large expenditures that they don't have any control over whatsoever. Like our election costs are gonna be close to $200,000. That's part of the board's budget. Our legal fees are increasing, their hourly rates increasing, everything's increasing. That comes out of the board of directors budget. Our annual audit, we just had an audit in 3 years. Accountability was our annual financial statement, and so that was an additional $30,000, it was close to $50,000. So those large expenditures are part of the board's budget, and then we have for travel and registrations for conferences, such, which they don't do very much. And they don't get paid. Those hours are not a budget. Did that help?
Yes, it does. And we're going to do a training. And could we serve support group and could we do it soon? So we're not even gonna be 10. That's the work. I don't have anything. Superintendent Woods, it's yours.
I want to start by thanking Curtis and his staff at the high school for all their work as far as graduation goes. As a former high school principal, I know that is a huge undertaking, not to mention all the work leading up to graduation to get kids to a place where they get to walk across the stage. And that doesn't just happen. So big thank you to Curtis and the high school. I just want to say thank you to all of our staff. We are in unprecedented times. Under normal circumstances, the spring and the end of the school year is hard. It is stressful, it is challenging, it is every emotion that you can think of, not just with our staff, but also with our students. So then you add in our current situation. It is remarkable that our staff do what they do in the current situation that we're in. And I think that needs to be said over and over again, that our staff are absolutely amazing what they're doing under the circumstances that our district is under. That they're continuing to show up with a smile on their face and serving our students each and every day. It is nothing short of amazing that they're able to do it and do that while they may not have a job next year, or they've been cut in some way. On top of that, they're asked to give finals to students and grade those. They're asked to do end of the year assessments with our students and asked to handle 23 kindergartners at the end of the year who are excited. It just cannot be said enough that our staff are pretty amazing, that they are continuing to do a remarkable job under these circumstances. And I think that we need to continue to recognize that. I want to thank you because this is hard. I don't think any board member ever signs up for this or expects this to happen. And I also want to thank the district office staff. We have an amazing group at our district office, and many of them are here. They are working tirelessly to help us navigate this situation on top of everything else that happens at the end of the year. And so big thanks to our team. The superintendent is only as good as the team that they work with. And I just really appreciate them. We could not do this job without them. Even though I don't think there's one person that would want my job right now. Our principals, they are also doing a fantastic job. They are trying to support their staff in their buildings, also working with us on staffing for next year. and trying to figure out how in the world do we do what we're supposed to do with less. And our principals have continued to do it with grace. At the same time, being fierce in their advocation for their buildings. And we hear from them every single day advocating for more. And so thank you to them. And the last group I want to thank is our community for helping us through this. Again, I've said this a number of times, it doesn't matter how you voted. What matters is that you're willing to work with us now to help us navigate what's going to be 2 very challenging years. And hopefully, on the end of this, there's going to be a lot of good to come out of it. And I think we have an opportunity to bring our community together in a way that this community has never come together before. And so I hope that we'll continue to focus on that and how we work together. But just really thankful for what I've seen from the people in this community.
Thank you. The next board meeting is June 27th, 2024, 6 p.m., regular business meeting, and it's at the district office. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.